How's everybody doing? Okay, we are going to do now part two of compatibility of signs with Gemini and Sagittarius. The series includes incompatibility of signs. However, in this instance, Gemini and Sagittarius actually can be compatible. So, having said that, I want to go a little bit into the aspect of nature. I don't think I really went too deep with it in part one. Excuse me. So we're gonna do it here. When we're dealing with Earth, I know in the other video I had said Earth when I meant fire. And I don't know why that happens. I only had a drink today, just one. So I'm actually pretty okay, you know. But sometimes it happens, But I mean fire and air. So when we're dealing with the psychological nature of a sign, I always like to compare the elements to nature because we are made of nature's dust. So the vibration and essence of nature through the dust that we come from is also psychologically inherent within us as well. So that's why I think it's valuable to make an analogy about nature and also the nature of human beings because that's what binds us and connects us to this planet because we are wearing her cloak so that when the time comes where we'll no longer be required to wear this cloak, then we have a separation of our maternal earth mother, our planet. And when two merge back to the Father, the Heavenly Father, the fire, the eternal fiery globe in which we originated from, going back to the Big Bang. And talking about that, because we're dealing with fire and air as complementary elements, you would think that there is a a harmonizing, workable relationship between fire and air, and there is. You can talk positively about fire and air. Listen, if you want to strike and light and make fire so that you can cook a kill that you've done in the forest and you're out camping and you're putting two sticks together and you're rubbing them, hopefully hoping to get some kind of smoke going, some kind of fire, because where there's smoke there's fire, right? you know and if you can get that happening, then you can create fire. You can put twigs and wood and create a fire, and then you can cook that carcass or that fresh kill out in the woods. But here's the thing: if you are in the French Alps or in the Andes Mountains, really high up, and you're trying to create fire using sticks and a magnifying glass to sharpen the rays of the sun, guess what? You're going to run into a problem because you're not going to be able to spark a fire because the oxygen level in the Andes Mountains and the higher altitudes than that is actually below 20%. Or when you have a less than 20% oxygenation, you're not going to have combustion. Just in case you didn't know that. So that's air working with fire. If you don't have the proper percentage of oxygen present, you're not going to spark a flame and create fire because you need oxygen to create fire. So that right there lets you know the interrelationship between air and fire. In order for fire to exist, air needs to be present. Not just air, is the chemistries that is in the air, like nitrogen, argon, oxygen, carbon dioxide. There are some natural elements in the air that are part of nature. Oxygen is one of them, and oxygen happens to be the element that can cause combustion. Without oxygen, you have no combustion. So understand the principle between fire and air. There's a relationship, they work together. So we can apply the same psychology to Gemini and Sagittarius. They're both polar opposite signs, but they are both absolutely in tandem with each other. Very much depends on who's the boss, like I mentioned in part one. Who's the boss? In this instance, I would say Gemini, because Gemini, although it's a mutable air, just like mutable fire, Sagittarius, the pomposity and arrogance of Sagittarius will not allow him to look at the details like Gemini will be capable of. But then again, these roles can be interchangeable, because then Gemini could be the one not focusing on the details, and Mr. Sagittarian would. And the roles interchange. So what makes a Sagittarian Gemini relationship work has to be the psychological emotional maturity index that these two signs can relate to each other. So it goes back to saying that the Gemini man or woman has to have a certain level of maturity already intact in order for them to realistically meet the demands of a relationship.